"This is the end for us, Linda. I found someone new." My husband's words sliced through my daughter's wedding reception like a knife through butter. The elegant ballroom went dead silent. Every single person at every table stopped talking and turned to stare at our corner table. David stood there holding his champagne glass like he had just announced the weather. Our daughter Sarah's perfect day was turning into a disaster. The woman sitting across from me, Jessica, his young secretary, smiled sweetly at me. She knew this was coming. Everyone was watching, waiting to see me fall apart. I'll tell you everything that happened next. But first, thank you for watching Grandmother's Tales. Please hit that subscribe button and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We love hearing from our viewers around the world. Today's special shout-out goes to Fabio Pires from Carpina, Pernambuco. Thank you for being part of our family, Maria. Now let me tell you the whole story. My name is Linda Patterson. I'm 54 years old. For 28 years, I built a life with David. I cooked his meals, raised our 2 beautiful children, and helped him build his construction business from nothing. I thought we were happy. I was wrong about a lot of things. Sarah looked stunning in her white dress, dancing with her new husband just minutes before. The reception was perfect. We had spent months planning every detail together. The flowers, the music, the menu. Everything was exactly how she dreamed it would be. Then David decided to destroy it all. Jessica sat there in her tight red dress looking pleased with herself. She was only 32 years old, 16 years younger than me. She had been working as David's secretary for 2 years. She came to our house for barbecues. She helped me pick out David's birthday gift last year. She even complimented my cooking and asked for recipes. What a joke that was. The ballroom had over 100 people. Our family, our friends, Sarah's new in-laws. Everyone we cared about was there to celebrate love and commitment. Then David chose that moment to announce he was throwing away 28 years of marriage. Did everyone hear that? I said, standing up slowly. My voice carried across the quiet room. My husband just announced he's leaving me for his secretary at our daughter's wedding. People gasped and whispered. Some looked embarrassed. Others pulled out their phones. David's face turned red. This wasn't going how he planned. "Linda, don't make a scene." He hissed at me quietly. "Don't make a scene?" I repeated louder. "You just made the scene, David. I'm just making sure everyone heard it clearly." Sarah came rushing over, her beautiful dress trailing behind her. "Mom! Dad, what's happening? This is my wedding day. Ask your father, sweetheart," I said, calmly smoothing her hair. He apparently had something very important to announce that couldn't wait. David looked around the room nervously. People were staring and talking behind their hands. This public announcement was supposed to embarrass me, not him. But I wasn't crying. I wasn't screaming. I wasn't begging him to stay. "Thanks for the heads up," I said, looking directly at Jessica. She stopped smiling. Something in my tone made her nervous. I reached into my purse and pulled out a thick white envelope. I had been carrying it with me all day, waiting for this exact moment. I placed it carefully next to David's dinner plate. "What's that?" David asked, his confident look starting to crack. "Just a little something for you to look at later," I said in my normal voice. "Nothing too important." I turned to Sarah, who looked like she wanted to disappear. "Honey, this is still your special day. Don't let anyone ruin it for you." I kissed her cheek and straightened my blue dress. "Please excuse me, everyone," I announced to the room. "Enjoy the rest of the reception. The bride and groom deserve a beautiful celebration." I walked toward the exit with my head held high. Every eye in that ballroom followed me. The heavy doors closed behind me, and I could hear the explosion of whispers and shocked conversations starting up. David stared at that white envelope like it might bite him. His hands shook slightly as he picked it up. Jessica leaned over, trying to see what was inside. But David clutched it close to his chest. "What did she give you?" Jessica whispered urgently. David didn't answer. He was too busy realizing that his perfect plan had just gone completely sideways. David's hands trembled as he tore open the white envelope. The fancy wedding reception continued around him, but he couldn't hear the music anymore. Jessica leaned closer, trying to peek at whatever Linda had left him. "Oh my God," David whispered, his face going white as paper. The first thing he pulled out were official legal documents, divorce papers with official court stamps, filed that very morning at 9 a.m., 6 hours before Sarah's wedding ceremony. "What is it?" Jessica asked, grabbing his arm. David couldn't speak. He kept reading the papers over and over. Linda hadn't just threatened to leave him. She had already started the legal process to end their marriage before he even made his big announcement. But that wasn't all. Underneath the divorce papers were photographs, lots of them. Pictures of David and Jessica holding hands outside the downtown hotel last month. Photos of them kissing in his car in the restaurant parking lot. Images of them shopping together at the furniture store, looking at beds and kitchen tables. Jessica's face in every single photo, clear as day. "Where did these come from?" Jessica gasped, looking around nervously. David flipped through more pictures. There were dozens of them, taken over several months. Someone had been following them, documenting every secret meeting, every stolen kiss, every romantic dinner. His phone started buzzing with text messages. Friends and family members who had witnessed the scene were already asking questions. His brother Mike texted, "What the hell just happened? Call me now." But David couldn't focus on the messages. At the bottom of the envelope was a handwritten note in Linda's neat handwriting. "You wanted to end our marriage publicly, so I'm just helping you make it legal. I filed for divorce this morning. The photos show how public your affair already was. Check the business accounts tomorrow. See how much I really knew. Linda." David's stomach dropped to the floor. "Business accounts? What did Linda know about the business?" Jessica snatched the note from his hands. "She's been spying on us," she hissed. "This is crazy behavior. You said she was the quiet type who never caused trouble." "She never did cause trouble," David said, still staring at the photos. "That's what's so scary about this." Around them, the wedding guests were trying to return to normal conversation, but everyone kept glancing at their table. Sarah's new mother-in-law walked over with a concerned expression. "David, is everything okay? Should we be worried about Linda?" "Linda's fine," David managed to say. "Just a misunderstanding." But it wasn't a misunderstanding. Linda had been planning this. The divorce papers proved it. The photographs proved it. The calm way she handled his announcement proved it. "How long do you think she knew?" Jessica whispered. David looked at the earliest photo. The date stamp showed it was taken 4 months ago. 4 months of Linda knowing, watching, planning, and saying nothing. "I need some air," David said, standing up quickly. He walked outside the ballroom into the hotel lobby, Jessica following close behind. Other guests were scattered around, some smoking, others making phone calls about what they had just witnessed. "David, we need to talk about this," Jessica said urgently. "If she's been planning a divorce for months, what else has she been planning?" That question hit David like a punch to the gut. Linda handled all their finances. She managed the business accounting. She knew every detail of their money, their investments, their properties. He pulled out his phone and tried calling Linda. It went straight to voicemail. Her voice sounded calm and professional. "You've reached Linda Patterson. Please leave a message." "Linda, we need to talk," David said after the beep. "This is crazy. We can work this out like adults." But even as he said the words, he knew Linda was already 3 steps ahead of him. She had filed divorce papers in the morning and let him make a fool of himself at dinner. She had photos he didn't know existed. She had a plan he never saw coming. Jessica grabbed his arm tighter. I'm scared, David. What if she tries to take everything? David looked at the divorce papers again. Tomorrow was Monday. The business accounts. What would he find when he tried to access them? For the first time in months, David realized he might have made the biggest mistake of his life. Let me take you back to where this all started. 10 months ago, on a cold Tuesday morning in November, I was making David's coffee like I had done every morning for 28 years. He was getting ready for work, rushing around looking for his car keys. "Have you seen my phone?" he asked, checking under the kitchen table. There it was, sitting right next to the coffee maker. When I picked it up to hand it to him, the screen lit up with a text message preview. "Can't wait to see you today, baby. Last night was amazing. Jay." My heart stopped. Jay? The only Jay we knew was Jessica, his secretary. But this message didn't sound like work. David grabbed the phone quickly. "Thanks, honey. Gotta run." He kissed my cheek and left for the office like nothing happened. I spent that whole day feeling sick to my stomach. Maybe I was jumping to conclusions. Maybe Jay was someone else. Maybe it was innocent. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. That night, David came home 3 hours late. "Sorry, honey. Big project deadline. Jessica and I had to work late to finish the Peterson contract." Jessica and I. There it was again. For the next 2 weeks, I watched him carefully. More late nights. More texts that made him smile in a way he hadn't smiled at me in years. More excuses about work projects and client meetings. Then I made a decision that changed everything. I hired a private investigator. His name was Tom Bradley, a retired police detective who specialized in cheating spouses. He was expensive, but I used money from my personal savings account that David didn't know about. Most cases like this take about a month to get solid evidence, Tom told me in his small office downtown. "Are you sure you want to know the truth?" I was sure. The waiting and wondering was killing me. 3 weeks later, Tom called me. "Mrs. Patterson, I have what you need. Can you meet me this afternoon?" The photos were worse than I imagined. David and Jessica kissing in restaurant parking lots, holding hands walking into hotels, shopping together for furniture and home decorations. They looked like a real couple, like they were planning a future together. "How long has this been going on?" I asked Tom. "Based on what I observed, at least 8 months. Probably longer. 8 months. While I was planning our anniversary dinner, David was planning a life with someone else. But Tom had more information. I followed them to several apartment complexes. They're looking for a place to live together. And there's something else." He showed me photos of Jessica at a medical building. "That's a pregnancy clinic, Mrs. Patterson. She went there twice while I was following her. Pregnant. Jessica was pregnant with David's baby." I sat in Tom's office crying for 20 minutes. Not just because my husband was cheating, but because he was starting a whole new family while lying to my face every single day. "What do you want to do with this information?" Tom asked gently. "I want to hire a lawyer," I said. "The best divorce lawyer in town." That's how I met Martha Rodriguez, a tough attorney who had handled high-profile divorces for 15 years. She looked at Tom's evidence and whistled low. "This is a solid case, Linda. But we need to be smart about this. Don't confront your husband yet. Let me do some research first." Martha's research uncovered something shocking. David had been taking money from our business accounts to pay for his affair. Expensive dinners, hotel rooms, jewelry for Jessica, even a down payment on an apartment. Thousands of dollars over several months. "That's embezzlement," Martha explained. "He's stealing from the business to fund his affair." But here's where it got interesting. 3 years ago, David had asked me to put the business in my name for tax purposes. Something about liability protection and better tax rates. I had signed the papers without thinking much about it. "Linda," Martha said, smiling for the first time since I met her, "you own that business legally. David has been stealing from you. Not just cheating on you. Over the next 6 months, Martha and I built an iron-tight case. We hired a forensic accountant who traced every dollar David had stolen. We documented every lie, every secret meeting, every penny spent on Jessica. Martha also suggested something that made me uncomfortable at first. We should record some conversations. If David admits to the affair or talks about his plans, that would be powerful evidence. I started carrying a small recording device. Old-fashioned, but it worked. I recorded David talking on the phone to Jessica when he thought I was in the garden. I recorded him telling his brother about his plans to leave me after Sarah's wedding. "The old witch won't know what hit her," David said to his brother one evening. "I'll be out of here and starting fresh with Jessica. Linda's too boring and predictable to fight back." Boring and predictable. That's what he thought of me after 28 years of marriage. 2 months ago, I discovered Jessica was 4 months pregnant. David had been lying to me about working late, when he was actually going to doctor appointments with her. That's when I made my final decision. Sarah's wedding would be perfect for my revenge. The envelope I gave David that night contained just the beginning. Monday morning came faster than David wanted. He had spent the entire weekend trying to call Linda, but she never answered. Jessica had been texting him constantly, asking about their future plans and when they could move in together. At 8 a.m. sharp, David sat in his office and tried to log into the business bank accounts like he did every Monday for years. The computer screen showed an error message. "Access denied. Contact bank administrator." "That's weird," he muttered, trying again. Same message. David called the bank directly. "Hi, this is David Patterson from Patterson Construction. I can't access our business accounts online. Let me check that for you, Mr. Patterson," the bank representative said. After a few minutes, she came back on the line. "I'm showing that Linda Patterson is the sole authorized user on these accounts. As of last Friday, you'll need her permission to access them." David's blood ran cold. "That can't be right. I'm the owner of the business. According to our records, Mrs. Patterson is listed as the legal owner." This change was made several months ago. David slammed the phone down. The business accounts, the payroll money, the client payments. Linda controlled everything. He tried calling their personal bank next. Same story. Linda had removed his access to everything except his personal checking account, which had maybe $300 in it. By noon, David was panicking. He couldn't pay his workers. He couldn't cover the office rent. He couldn't even buy lunch. Jessica called while he was staring at his computer screen. "David, we need to talk. Can you meet me at the apartment we looked at last month?" "What apartment?" "The one we put the deposit down on. Remember? We're supposed to sign the lease today." David had completely forgotten. In all the chaos of the wedding disaster, he had lost track of their moving plans. "Jessica, we have a problem. I can't access any money right now." "What do you mean you can't access money? You said you had everything handled." David drove to the apartment complex, his mind racing. How was he going to explain this to Jessica? How was he going to fix this mess? Jessica was waiting in the parking lot, looking beautiful and excited. At 4 months pregnant, she was just starting to show. She had been talking about baby names and nursery colors for weeks. "Ready to sign our lease?" she asked, smiling. "We need to talk first," David said. They sat in his car while David explained about the bank accounts, the business ownership, and Linda's divorce papers. Jessica's smile faded with every word. "So, you're telling me that you don't actually control your own business?" "Legally, no. But I built that company from nothing. I can fight this in court." "What about money for the apartment? For the baby? For us?" David looked at his hands. "I have about $300 in my personal account." Jessica stared at him like she was seeing him for the first time. $300? "David, I'm pregnant. I quit my job at the office because you said we were moving in together. I gave my landlord notice. We'll figure this out. I just need time to talk to Linda." "Talk to Linda? The woman who had us followed and photographed for months? The woman who planned this whole thing?" David drove straight home after Jessica stormed off. He found Linda in their bedroom, calmly folding clothes and putting them in boxes. "What are you doing?" he demanded. "Packing your things," Linda said without looking up. "You said you found someone new, so I figured you'd want to move out." "Linda, we need to discuss this like adults. You can't just freeze me out of my own business." Linda finally looked at him. "Your business? David, you signed those ownership papers yourself 3 years ago. You said it was for tax benefits. That was supposed to be temporary." "Nothing in the paperwork says temporary." Linda held up a manila folder. "I have copies of everything you signed." David sat down hard on the bed. "What do you want? Money? The house? What's it going to take to end this?" Linda walked over to the dresser and picked up a small black device. "You want to know what I want? Listen to this." She pressed play. David's own voice filled the room. "The old witch won't know what hit her. I'll be out of here and starting fresh with Jessica. Linda's too boring and predictable to fight back." David's face went white. "You recorded me. I recorded lots of conversations. You talking about leaving me. You planning your future with Jessica. You calling me names." Linda's voice stayed calm and steady. "My lawyer says these recordings are legal evidence. You've been planning this for months. 10 months. Linda corrected. "Ever since I found your text messages." David's phone buzzed. It was Sarah, their daughter. "Dad, I need to talk to you. Can you come over?" 30 minutes later, David sat in Sarah's living room while she played the same recordings Linda had played for him. "Mom showed me everything, Dad. The photos, the recordings, the stolen money. How could you do this to our family? Sarah, honey. Marriages are complicated. Sometimes people grow apart." "Grow apart?" Sarah's voice got louder. "You were stealing money from the business to buy jewelry for your secretary. You called Mom names behind her back." David looked at his daughter, the same daughter whose wedding he had destroyed just 2 days ago. "I made some mistakes." "Mistakes?" Sarah stood up. "Dad, I can't even look at you right now. What you did was cruel and disgusting." David drove back to the office, but Linda had changed the locks. A note on the door said, "Business closed until further notice. All employee questions should be directed to Linda Patterson." His phone rang. It was Jessica. "David, I need to know right now. Can you support me and this baby or not?" David looked at the locked office door, thought about his empty bank accounts, and realized he had no good answer to give her. 2 weeks after Linda locked him out of the business, David was getting desperate. He had been calling their biggest clients, trying to convince them to hire him directly for new projects. "Hey, Bob, it's David Patterson. Listen, I'm starting my own company now. Independent operation. Can we talk about that warehouse project you mentioned?" Bob sounded uncomfortable on the phone. "David, I already talked to Linda about this. She's handling all our construction needs. Plus, I heard about what happened at Sarah's wedding. That was pretty rough, man." Another dead end. David had made similar calls to 20 different clients. They all said the same thing. They preferred working with Linda. They had heard about the affair. They weren't interested. Jessica was calling him every day now, getting more stressed about money in the future. She was 6 months pregnant and starting to show a lot more. "David, I need answers," she said when they met at a coffee shop downtown. "My parents are asking questions about our plans. My mom wants to know when we're getting married, where we're living, how you're going to support the baby." David stirred his coffee nervously. "I'm working on some new business deals. It just takes time." "How much time?" "The baby is coming in 3 months. I need health insurance. I need a place to live. I need stability." "What do you want me to say, Jessica?" Linda has control of everything right now. But that won't last forever. Jessica leaned forward, her voice getting sharper. You promised me we would have a good life together. You said you had money saved up. You said you owned a successful business. I do own the business. It's just complicated legally. No, David. Linda owns the business. You lied to me. The court hearing was scheduled for the following Thursday. David had hired a lawyer, but it was expensive and he was running out of money fast. His lawyer, Mark Stevens, was honest about their chances. David, the evidence against you is pretty strong, Mark said in his office. The recordings, the financial records, the photographs. Linda's attorney has built a solid case. But I built that business from nothing. Doesn't that count for something? Not legally. You signed ownership over to Linda 3 years ago. The paperwork is clear. In the courtroom, David watched Linda present her evidence calmly and professionally. She had recordings of him bad-mouthing her to his friends. She had bank records showing exactly how much money he had spent on Jessica. She had photos documenting their affair timeline. The judge listened to everything with a serious expression. When it was David's turn to speak, he tried to explain that he had made mistakes, but still deserved half of what they had built together. Your Honor, Linda's lawyer said, Mr. Patterson systematically stole money from the business to fund his extramarital affair. He emotionally abused my client by calling her names and making cruel comments about her intelligence and worth. The evidence is overwhelming. After 2 hours, the judge made his decision. Based on the evidence presented, I'm ruling that Mrs. Linda Patterson retains full ownership of Patterson Construction and all associated assets. Mr. David Patterson's request for spousal support is denied. David felt his world collapse. Walking out of the courthouse, he called Jessica immediately. How did it go? She asked. Not good. Linda keeps everything. There was a long silence on the phone. David, I can't do this anymore. What do you mean? I mean, I can't count on you to take care of me and this baby. You don't have a job. You don't have money. You don't even have a place to live. We can figure this out together. No, we can't. I'm moving back in with my parents. They said they'll help me with the baby. Jessica, please, don't give up on us now. You gave up on us when you lied about having your life together. I need someone who can actually provide for a family. After she hung up, David sat in his car outside the courthouse, watching Linda walk to her car with her lawyer. She looked confident and successful. She had won completely. His phone buzzed with text messages. His brother Mike had heard about the court decision. Some of their mutual friends were taking sides, and most were choosing Linda. Heard what happened in court today. You brought this on yourself, brother. Mike, Linda called and told me everything. I can't believe what you did to her. Their neighbor, Carol. Sarah asked me not to contact you anymore. Sorry, David. His old friend Tom. By evening, David was sitting in a cheap motel room, counting the money in his wallet. $43. Jessica was gone. His business was gone. His daughter wouldn't speak to him. Most of his friends had turned against him. But David wasn't ready to give up completely. He had one last idea, one final attempt to fix everything. He was going to go see Linda and try to make a deal. David waited outside Martha Rodriguez's law office for 2 hours. He knew Linda met with her lawyer every Tuesday at 2 p.m. to discuss the business transition. When Linda finally came out, David stepped in front of her. Linda, we need to talk. Please. Linda looked at him calmly. We can talk here, David. Martha can be a witness to whatever you want to say. Can we do this privately? Just the two of us, like old times? There are no old times anymore. Linda replied. Say what you came to say. David looked terrible. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair was messy, and he had dark circles under his eyes. The confident man who had announced his affair at Sarah's wedding was gone. I'll give you the divorce. No fighting, no complications. But I need something to live on. Some money from the business. Something fair. Linda opened her purse and pulled out a folded paper. Fair? You want to know what's fair, David? She handed him the document. It was their prenuptial agreement from 28 years ago. Remember this? You insisted we sign it before we got married. You said it would protect both of us if anything went wrong. David unfolded the paper, his hands shaking slightly. This expired years ago. Read Section 12, Linda said firmly. In cases of adultery, the unfaithful spouse receives only personal belongings and any money in individual accounts. That's what you wanted to protect yourself with back then. David's face went white as he read his own signature on the bottom of the page. You've been planning this for over a year, haven't you? He whispered. Longer than that, Linda admitted. I knew about Jessica 14 months ago. I've been preparing for this moment ever since. 14 months? David staggered backward. You knew for 14 months and never said anything? I wanted to be absolutely sure. I wanted to have all the evidence I needed. And I wanted to make sure Sarah's wedding would be perfect before I ended our marriage. Martha Rodriguez spoke up. Mrs. Patterson has been very thorough, Mr. Patterson. Every legal requirement has been met. David looked at Linda with new understanding. You played me. You let me think I was so smart, planning my new life with Jessica. But you were always 3 steps ahead. You called me boring and predictable. Linda replied. You said I was too stupid to fight back. I guess you were wrong about that too. What about forgiveness? What about second chances? We had 28 good years together. Linda's expression softened slightly. We did have good years, David. That's why this hurts so much. You threw away everything we built for someone who left you the minute things got hard. David had no answer for that. Jessica had moved back with her parents 2 weeks ago. She wasn't returning his calls or text messages. I heard Jessica had the baby, Linda said quietly. Last week. A little girl. David's voice broke slightly. She won't let me see her. Says I'm not reliable enough to be a father. That must be difficult. The DNA test results came back too. The baby isn't mine. Linda stared at him. What? Jessica was seeing someone else the whole time. She wasn't sure who the father was until after the baby was born. David laughed bitterly. I destroyed my marriage for a woman who was lying to me, too. For the first time in months, Linda felt a tiny bit of sympathy for David. But only a tiny bit. I'm sorry about the baby situation. But that doesn't change what you did to our family. I know. David looked at the prenup again. So this is it? My clothes and $300? That's what you agreed to 28 years ago. 6 months later, David was living in a small apartment across town and working part-time at a hardware store. Most of his old friends avoided him. Sarah still wouldn't take his calls. His brother Mike talked to him occasionally, but their relationship was strained. Linda, meanwhile, was thriving. Patterson Construction was busier than ever. She had hired 3 new employees and was considering expanding into commercial projects. The business was growing fast without David's poor decision-making and money management. Sarah visited her mother every Sunday for dinner. Their relationship had actually gotten stronger through the whole ordeal. I'm proud of how you handled everything, Mom, Sarah said over coffee. You could have fallen apart, but instead you fought back smart. I learned something important, Linda replied. I'm stronger than I thought I was. Jessica had moved to another state with her baby and the real father. David heard through mutual friends that she was working as a receptionist and learning hard lessons about getting involved with married men. The irony wasn't lost on anyone who knew the whole story. David had insisted on the prenup to protect his assets if Linda ever cheated on him. Instead, it became the legal document that left him with nothing when he cheated on her. Linda kept the wedding photo of her and David on her bedroom dresser for a while, but eventually put it away. She was building a new life now, one where she made the decisions and controlled her own destiny. Thanks for watching Grandmother's Tales. What did you think about Linda's revenge? Was it fair or too harsh? Let us know in the comments below, and tell us where you're watching from. Don't forget to subscribe for more real-life stories about love, betrayal, and justice. Next week, we'll hear about a woman who discovered her husband's secret gambling addiction on their anniversary cruise. You won't believe what she did with that information.